Hello and welcome to The Hub on CGTN and Wang Guan. 2024 was yet another year for China-Africa relations, with the Forum on China-Africa Cooperation in Beijing being one of the highlights. With deepening economic ties, expanding diplomatic engagement, extensive partnerships, for 15 consecutive years, China has remained Africa's largest trading partner, with Uganda standing out as China's third largest trading partner on the continent. So how can both sides build on these achievements? What key strategies can be expected going forward? To delve deeper into these questions, we interviewed His Excellency Mr. Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, the President of Uganda, who shared valuable insights into how bilateral ties between China and Uganda have evolved in 2024 and the broader implications for China-Africa relations. Listen to this. Your Excellency President Museveni, thank you for joining us and welcoming us and our crew to your beautiful country, Uganda. It is our first time here. We're thoroughly impressed. I want to take you back to the earlier days, the 1960s, if you don't mind. We all face decisions in our lives, especially decision to go to college. And upon your decision, you put all three choices at university, at the University of Dar es Salaam in Tanzania, a cradle of anti-colonialism, anti-oppression. How would you reflect on that decision? There's quite some determination there.
Well, it is because we are not looking at education just for academic. We are looking at education as an instrument of struggle. And Tanzania, under the former President Yoweri, was more active politically. That's why I said I either don't go to university.
Yeah, you said that.
Or I go to Dar es Salaam. That was the idea. There was a university here, but it was in another direction. They were not active in the anti-colonial struggle.
Actually, your country, Uganda, achieved independence in October 1962. Upon your enrollment in college, your country was already theoretically free from colonialism. Yet still, you feel that there was oppression of some sort. So you joined the fight.
Of course, there was the ideological disorientation of our people, our leaders here. But there was also the anti-colonial struggle still going on in Southern Africa, Mozambique, Angola, Zimbabwe, South Africa itself. We had to liberate Southern Africa and deepen freedom within the part of Africa which was already independent in name, but not in substance.
And you were very active as a young student.
Yes, very much so. Very much so in both deepening independence here and chasing the foreigners from Southern Africa.
And how do you like China's modernization drive now? A campaign launched by President Xi since over 10 years ago to going down this path, making China more environmentally conscious, more equitable, reducing the gap between the rich and the poor, and more, of course, responsible as a champion of the global South and rights of all of us.
That is the correct way. That is the correct way because you produce wealth and then you distribute it. Some people make mistakes. They try to distribute what is not there. That's how they get all this mixed up. So that correctness of analysis of what comes first and what comes next is what has helped. And on whom do you rely? Which social forces do you depend on? That's how China has grown very fast.
You met President Xi a few times, right?
Yes.
What kind of a person and leader does he strike you as? He calls you a veteran leader of Africa. What would you call him?
The Chinese leaders are all very focused. They have got a correct analysis. Because you see, leaders are like doctors. If a doctor has got a patient, if you don't diagnose the sickness correctly, you will not give a proper prescription, and the patient may die. So the importance of the Chinese leaders is the correctness of analyzing their society, but also the world situation, where you are either right or wrong. Because if you look at if a doctor looks at a patient and does a wrong diagnosis, the patient will either not be cured or he will die. So the Chinese leaders have really used political economy. We call it political economy in our description. They have used the laws of political economy correctly. That's why China has grown. Some of these other fellows make mistakes. These laws are universal. They are there. It's not that they are a secret. They are distilled from the 4.5 million years of human history. But some people don't see them. We are doing the same here. We are moving. We are moving. That's where we are moving. On whom do we rely for wealth creation? The private sector, the state. What stimuli do they need? You find like China, they have emphasized infrastructure, the railway, the electricity. Now, here in Africa, part of the problem is that those aspects have not been addressed. The railway, the electricity has been not emphasized. If you don't build the railway, if you don't build the electricity, how will you produce competitively? How? If your production costs are high, how will you manage to support business, to succeed and be competitive? It is those issues that China has addressed correctly. That's how business has grown.
And there has been an increasing number of China-Uganda partnership in delivering those infrastructure to, of course, to help China and also to help Uganda.
Absolutely.
The expressway from the airport to here, which we drove on, which was very nice, and the Karuma Hydropower Station, so on and so forth. Are they delivering for the lives of people here?
Yes, we are very grateful for that road there. In other areas, the Chinese companies get contracts and they are paid, which is all right. But in the case of the expressway, they gave us a soft loan, which was very good, and also Karuma. We used a soft loan from Exim Bank of China, and we put on our own money. We added, but the major part was the Exim Bank. So very good. We are very happy with China.
We know that back in 1995, Uganda back then decided to build this Karuma hydropower station, and it was first contracted to a Norwegian energy company. But due to a variety of reasons, obviously the hydropower station couldn't get built, and now the Chinese company came in and forged a partnership with Uganda to deliver that. Is that true?
That's true. That's very true. First of all, the Norwegian company were aiming at small amount of power, 200 megawatts, but the Chinese company and also another Italian company pointed out that that was underutilization, that we could get 650 megawatts from the site. And that's how we went with the Chinese eventually, because their proposal was going to give us more power.
And now I heard the power is also exporting, not just being utilized here, but exporting to some countries like
Absolutely.
Sudan or South Sudan. Is that true?
To all countries, to Kenya, to Tanzania, to Rwanda, to South Sudan, to Congo. They are all buying power from here.
Mr. President, if you think about China-Uganda friendship and China-Uganda relationship, China was among the first group of countries that recognized your country on October 18, 1962. And the two countries established a comprehensive cooperative partnership under you and President Xi. What words would you use to describe this 62-year-old relationship?
That relationship started earlier, because by 1900, the whole of Africa had been colonized. Then China itself was like a semi-colony. It had been invaded by the European countries. Now on the African continent, the modern anti-colonial movement started in 1912 in South Africa by the founding of the African National Congress. So, and in fact, in South Africa, there was an Indian person called Mahatma Gandhi. He was also involved in that effort of South Africa. So therefore, you can see, and the Chinese Communist Party, I think, started in 1921.
Yes, exactly.
1921. So this was part of the worldwide anti-colonial movement in Africa and Asia especially. In India, in China, here in Africa. So that's how, although we were not coordinating all the time, but we were aware that we were fighting a common struggle. And in 1955, there was the Bandung conference in Indonesia. And you can see who attended there. It was Tito of Yugoslavia. It was Zhou Enlai, Prime Minister of China. It was Nasser of Egypt. I think Nehru of India. Sukarno of Indonesia. This is the original cooperation between Africa and Asia in the anti-colonial movement. So therefore, and when they had that Bandung conference, there was no African countries which were independent, except Sudan had just got independence, and Ethiopia and Egypt. African countries started getting independence in 1957 with Ghana. So therefore, after the independence of the African countries, it was natural for China, the new China, to link up with us, because it had started before. We were fighting the same problem, same imperialism. Imperialism was the common enemy of our people. It was in order that we get together. And our leaders had started earlier.
Exactly. Our relations and our friendship do go way back. And then how would you describe China as a modern-day power? Because so much has been said and written about what kind of a power China is or could be in the future. Some are fearful of China's rise, as you see, by people in Washington, in Brussels. Others think China is a new champion, as a leader of the global South and global development. What do you think, Mr. President?
China has, under the Communist Party of China, has been a partner in the anti-imperialist struggle. Now, when they have more capacity, they are working with us to develop equal relationships in trade, and they are doing the right things. As I've told you about the railway, if you build the railway, how can anybody say you are doing something wrong? Electricity, these are the basics. The Western countries, when they come here, they give our people what they call import support. Money, which is a loan, not free money. They give you money to import more. So you are not helping this person who is struggling to build the base for his economy, and instead you are giving him money on loan, not free money, to import indiscriminately. Import perfumes, wines, using borrowed money. How can this be friendship? It's not friendship at all. So even if you are not sure, you can judge from what somebody does. If somebody is building a railway for you, how can this be a bad person? Because the railway is the base of the economy. Electricity. The Chinese don't build casinos and nightclubs. They build aspects of the infrastructure that can make you to grow. The internal affairs of China are their internal affairs. The internal affairs of Uganda are Ugandan affairs. We only deal with the matters of mutual interest. So both internationally and internally, China has been pursuing correct positions.
If you think about what some countries have preached and proposed, the initiatives or the sanctions they launched against countries such as your own based on so-called values, right? If you don't follow Western values or ideologies, chances are sometimes you get embargoed, sometimes you get sanctioned, and you spoke against these kind of values-based division and values-based superiority.
That is absolute shallowness, very shallow. How can we have the same values in all aspects? Because like African countries are now mainly pre-capitalist. They are still having the old social formations of non-money traditional wealth creation. They don't have a middle class. They don't have a working class. They have peasant societies. Now you think they can have the same values as people who have middle class societies. It's not serious. It is very shallow.
Some countries originating from a similar heritage or heritages have been like this throughout history. You know, having this values-based superiority and dividing countries and the world by blocks based on ideologies. And we're only seeing more of that these days. If you look at what the United States has done on China in terms of technology sanctions, trade sanctions, containment of China, through their Pacific alliances?
We call that chauvinism.
It's a good word.
And that chauvinism is dangerous. You must be like me. If you are not like me, I suppress you. This is wrong, and so we the Africans don't care about your identity. If you want to work with us, you work with us on a mutual interest. Your identity is yours, mine is mine, so please don't waste my time.
Talking about trading relations, Your Excellency, our trading relationship exceeded $1 billion last year. If you look at another way, our trading volume doubled itself in a short span of 5 years. Which area holds the largest potential for future growth? I heard that there's going to be a new trade hub set up by your country in China, right?
Uganda has got a lot of potential which can benefit us, but also benefit China. We have very strong agriculture. Therefore, we are already producing a lot of raw materials from agriculture. The only issue is to add value to them. Add value to coffee, add value to textiles, add value to cassava for starch, add value to maize, add value to milk, add value to beef. So China can both invest but also buy from us. Then you have minerals. Minerals, that's another base. Then you have forest products which can be sold in China and third-party markets.
Talking about coffee, we know that Uganda is one of the largest coffee producers, not just in Africa, but around the world. According to World Economic Forum, your country, Uganda, combined with Ethiopia, produces 62% of all of Africa's coffee. We know that you both produce Robustica and Arabica coffee, which is a rare combination. What's unique about Uganda coffee, Mr. President?
Coffee is indigenous to Uganda. That coffee plant is indigenous to here, the Robusta. We are right on the equator, but with a high altitude. Here where you are sitting is 1,200 meters above sea level. That's why the climate is mild. And some parts of Uganda go up to 5,000 meters. You can find permanent snow here in Uganda all the year round. So that combination of latitude on the equator and altitude give us potential which is unique in the world.
Oftentimes, President Museveni, you spoke about the injustices and inequalities in such areas such as coffee industries. Your people are harvesting coffee here in the farmland with their sweat and blood and exporting it to Western powers, and they exported it back to Africa at an exorbitantly high price.
The global value of the coffee business is $460 billion. However, all the coffee producing countries in the world, including Brazil and Colombia and Vietnam and Indonesia, all of them, all of us, only share $25 billion. Africa shares $2.5 billion from that, and $900 million is taken by Uganda because of the volume. A European country like Germany earns $65 billion from coffee. Germany earns $65 billion from coffee. And yet all the coffee producing countries, they earn $25 billion. So it's just theft.
You're getting about 1% of all of the profit.
Absolutely. It's just theft. Because we have been arguing with the Western companies. Why do you roast coffee in Europe? Why don't you roast it here? Roast and grind and pack, so that much of the value remains here, and you only take transport and distribution cost on the other side. But they don't want that. They want everything to be done in Europe. We just grow raw materials and get very, very little.
They impose tariffs, right, by the Europeans.
Tariff and non-tariff barriers, they use both.
You coined this term, parasite,
yes,
or parasitism.
Yes,
parasitic. So that's original, Mr. President.
It is parasitism. They don't want symbiosis. The opposite of parasitism is symbiosis.
Ah, you grow together, profit together, you depend on each other.
Yes.
I've got to ask you, Mr. President, what is the secret formula for East African nations such as Kenya, Ethiopia, and your own Uganda in churning out the world's best long-distance runners?
We are taking advantage of the high altitude. This is partly biology. Some of those people who are doing good running are born in mountain areas. If you are born in a mountain area, up in the mountain, the oxygen is less. There's more oxygen at sea level than in the mountain. So their lungs, from childhood, learn how to use little oxygen. They are more efficient. They have got more efficient lungs. They are all from highland areas who can run those long distances.
Maybe we should send our own athletes to the highland areas,
yes,
altitude areas.
We have built, you can tell the Chinese government, we have built a high altitude training center in that area, where Sept comes from.
Oh, really?
We have built a training center there, 2,000 something meters above sea level. Thank you.
Now with that, we come to the end of this edition of The Hub on CGTN. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Wang Guan. Bye for now.